All right, welcome everybody to the Trade Pending Fire Pit Chat. We started these. We didn't want to do a fireside chat because no one was sitting inside at the time. Everyone had to be outside because of a pandemic, and we just kept this whole vibe of a fire pit chat going today. We are thrilled to have Duran Cage here. Hey, Duran, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing good. And yourself?
Doing well. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. Now, am I supposed to be on camera?
You should put your camera on.
I know it's not. It says you cannot start your video because the host has stopped it.
Well, let's see if we can fix that real quick. I am gonna make you a co-host, and that should allow you to see if you can cut on your video now. There we go. We're in business.
All right. So let's get that. I thought it was my computer earlier, so I apologize.
Oh, it was all me. Oh yeah. So there we are. We've got our contact information here. We'll have this here at the end of the webinar as well too. As we always do, we record this. We will share it out afterwards, so you can watch it at 1.5 speed, so you can get through it faster. Maybe it's so good you slow it down. We will also take Q&A as we go. Use the Q&A button there in the Zoom webinar panel. Pretty straightforward stuff. And so today, as we pitched in the invite for this, we're going to talk about better close rates, figuring out where to spend your ad dollars and getting the structure right to be able to handle internet leads. And obviously, please check out Duran and what he does here, but let's just jump on in. All right, so we're going to start at the top. So you have very much a unique view in automotive just because the amount of clients that you work with, dealerships that you see, that you work with on a daily basis. So what is it that you're really seeing and hearing out there right now?
Wow. First off, thank you again for having me on, but seeing and hearing a lot, but a lot of the same things. And I'm sure a lot of people that are listening to this call that are on here, we're all battling. We have the same battles, right? We know about inventory, where there's frustrations there on both sides. And so one of the bigger battles that I see is that there's actually, to me, there's frustration on both sides. There's frustration if you're a customer, because they say statistically 80% of the leads that we're receiving right now are on vehicles that are not active that we can sell. And every dealership I tell that to, they're like, I think it's higher than that. But think about this on the customer's end, what that's like to know that you're going into trying to purchase something that the odds are they probably don't have it. And then on the employee side, think about what that does from a morale standpoint when you're grinding, you're working hard, and leads are coming in and they're on vehicles that we don't have. So now we come down to how do we fix this problem and how do we convert those opportunities so we can still sell cars, close at a high rate, and keep the morale lifted.
Yeah. How do you lift that morale?
Right. So being transparent, we got to get back to the basics on just connecting with people. And so I know when we talked previously, we talked about being kind. I want to take that a step further. We want to be kind, but we want to be authentic in terms of connecting with people. And so what I mean by that is that we have to get away from being so scared when we get an opportunity. I shouldn't say scared, but worrying about when an opportunity comes in on a vehicle that we might not have in stock and available. We need to focus on, let's connect first and find out what's really important to the customer and what led them to this vehicle in the first place. Because even before what's happening is happening, there's still the good majority of people in studies show that 70% of people were open to options. So let's think about that. If 70% of people are normally open to options when looking for a vehicle, we now make it a bigger deal when we don't have those vehicles to sell that they originally inquired about. So going back to those basics and just connecting with people, finding out why are they even connecting with your store? What has their shopping experience been like? They'll tell you their frustrations if we focus on not just selling a car, but we focus more on connecting with people, thanking people. That's going back to that kind part. At the beginning of every call or every interaction, pause. Just pause with your customers and take time to just say, thank you for this opportunity, appreciate them, and compliment them on what they're doing. And it will separate you miles apart from the competition, because the average dealership and the average sales experience, we're not thanking the customers enough, and we're not giving them that ultimate experience because of frustration on both parties.
When you make those pleas and you make those pitches, how is that typically received? And how is it is there a way for people to follow through on that to see if it's actually implemented and how?
Yeah. So the way it's received is a lot of people are like, you're right. Because the way that I explain this is, think of it this way. The last time you purchased something or you went to a restaurant or a clothing store, whatever, most of the experience are very similar right now to where a lot of people are just kind of over it. It seems like, so they're like, yeah, you're right. And I'm like, well, think about this. Customers are trying to make a 40, 50, 60, $70,000 decision. And we're not going to pause to take time to say thank you. So normally just making sure that I show it that way. The other way also is just doing a live call. So I've done that before, where I've done live calls. Anybody on this call can do it. Just call a store, if you can do your store, and just see what that experience is like. And when I've done this at stores, when I call a store and just say, hey, I'm looking to trade my ramen, something like that, what do you think happens? I don't get thanked. There's no extra experience items that we're talking about. And that's how I can show people and they can see it. Now, how do we track that? How do we measure it? So if you're a leader, you're like, okay, so how do we make sure the team's doing it? Is very similar to how we used to do save-a-deals back in the day. If you're a sales manager, every single day you get together, you look at the opportunities from the previous day. Well, internet leads should be part of that process. The managers at the store need to be reviewing these every single day. And there you can see in your CRM via email or text, you will be able to see there, did we thank our customer? Did we compliment them? And did we provide value and experience about our store? So that's a real easy way to track it. And then also you can listen to calls. So if they have a call recording software, anything like that, that's just another way to spot check, because everybody on this call knows what you inspect is what you get. If you don't inspect it, if it's not important to the leader of the company, it's not going to happen anyways. It's just going to sound good, but it's not going to get done.
Mm-hmm. On that topic of building back energy and enthusiasm, you mentioned this whole concept of, would you buy a car from yourself? Talk us through that.
Yeah. So what I encourage people to do, and I do this myself, is always think about when you get off that call with the customer, play that call back. Or if you just met with a customer and you tried to sell them a car and you did or you didn't, you should have a peer that's kind of watching you throughout that process. And even if they can record it maybe, but on a call or a text or an email, you should look at all those interactions with your online guests and ask yourself afterwards, would I have bought from me if I received that communication? And you have to be honest, because if it's like, that was kind of average, then no, you wouldn't have bought from yourself. So we need to make sure we hold ourselves to a standard that we want to receive when we're out buying things. So that's what I mean by that. Like, would you buy from you? Look at your interactions. Everybody wants to get off this call. Look at your interactions in your event solutions. Look at every text and email and ask yourself, was that authentic, or did I look like I was a robot? Were you AI or were you a human?
I'm smiling because that, like you say, it requires people to be honest with themselves. And sometimes that's hard.
Yeah.
All right. Absolutely. So this first bullet here, and I'm just going to stop sharing my screen here, since we'll just come back to this if we need to. We'll just go full picture here. All right. So getting better close rates on internet leads. Easy question to ask, probably a hard one to actually figure out. Let's just go in there. How do people close more internet leads?
Yeah. So the first thing, so again, it goes back to that basic discussion, right? So the first thing that we need to do is make sure we're slowing down to focus on how we're going to connect with the guest. And what I mean by that, so use trade pending, for example, when that opportunity comes in, pause for a second. We all know we want to have a fast response time, but I would much rather have a quality response than speed any day. Like, you can tell me, I'm going to get to them in 1 minute, but if you can get a quality in under 5 minutes, that's really what you should be pushing for. So get to know your guests, look at it real quick, and then make sure that we're calling as soon as we can. I've seen some people out there that just text customers now. The problem with text, it's great that it has a good open rate, but the problem with text is there's no emotion there unless you're going to text a video or a picture. So make sure we call. Remember, the goal is to connect with the guest, not to sell a car just yet. That's going to be a byproduct of connecting. And then whatever happens on that call, whether you leave a voicemail or you and I connect, no matter what happens after that separates you. So you should be sending a video recap of the conversation. This is the easiest way to sell a bunch more cars, because once we get off that phone and there's a video recap that just says, hey, man, thank you so much. It was great talking with you. I look forward to whatever next happens. Or I'm so sorry that we didn't have the vehicle that you wanted, but hey, look, here's all the other vehicles. I just wanted to share them with you again, because now people start getting back to this is a human that I'm dealing with. Like, that was really cool. And so just making sure that, again, after we send that video, then our next steps is going to be in your CRM, making sure that it's organized, which that's a whole nother call in itself, but just making sure that your CRM is tight and every customer is put into the right follow-up process so that nobody gets dropped. And then again, back to what we talked about a few minutes ago, an easy way to increase your closing percentages or to sell more cars online is do not look at internet leads as if they are separate from a walk-in or a phone up. Every single day, all throughout the day, everybody in that dealership should be looking at every online opportunity, every phone up, and every walk-in as if they are right there on that showroom, because they technically are, it's just virtually. And then they should be asking themselves, did we greet that guest with our right process? So whatever process your store has in place, all day long, it should be an event where managers are looking at that. And just that thing alone. So you don't have to try to implement all these things I'm talking about, but just pick one, and these things will increase sales online.
So following you on social media, you're pretty hot right now on video. Why is that?
Oh, yeah. Well, if anybody wants to know the personal story about video, I actually wasn't too crazy about doing videos a few years back. Video ended up happening because, for lack of better words, I had a couple clients. One got bought out by a dealer group. Another client offered me a marketing position. I did not get it. So they fired me the day after Christmas in 2018. So here I am sitting here and I have no real pipeline. I'm like, how am I going to get my word out about what I do for dealers? And I was like, you know what? I'm going to get on video. And I just started pounding video. And you can look at it back in 2019. They were horrible. They were absolutely terrible. But what happened was within 60 days, I got all my business back and some through social media and video content. And that's when I was like, thank God. I mean, this was done for a reason. And after that, I never stopped doing video, and I just keep practicing, working on it. And now get back to the auto side. So why do I push it there? Goes back to what I buy from me. I would 100% buy from me if I received a video from somebody breaking down next steps, highlighting the car, highlighting my request. And I threw out a stat recently. They said 81% of customers prefer a video. Like, that helped them buy that product from that dealership. 81% of them said that was a positive result that helped them go to a dealership and buy a car. So that alone, if nobody wants to believe in anything, if 80% of customers want it, and then they're already using it anyways, like most people go on YouTube anyway, so why not be there with some video content, and why not proactively share it? But yes, I love video because all the data supports it. It's one of the best things that you can do.
Yeah, and so you mentioned content. So what type of content is the right content for the right moment?
Yeah, now are we talking about content for the customer to send or content for social media?
Content, so that video content, you're sending some kind of recap of a conversation of where you are in the process. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, think of it this way. If you're wondering, like, what content could I send? Just think of the traditional road to the sale. Now I would try to shorten that thing. Hopefully nobody's still operating on a 15-step, but just really shorten that up and make sure you're doing a video version of all that. So a video greeting, hey, this is Duran. And I wouldn't even start with my name. So the flow that I always give whenever you do a video that's like a greeting video, it always starts with the customer's name, thank the customer, compliment them on what it is they're trying to do, and then label out what you want the customer to do. So a lot of times we do videos and we focus on us. Hey, this is Duran with ABC Motors. I did a video and I wanted to, nobody cares.
Nobody cares about you. They care about themselves.
No.
Yeah.
So it needs to be, hey, Matthew, first off, thank you so much for the opportunity. I understand that you're looking at a BMW X5. Man, hats off to you. I love those. And hey, I wanted to see, and then boom, now we go into whatever the next action step. So the greeting, I would do a video for the walk around demo drive. You could almost combo them both, So, hey, you know what? I had a few moments and I thought I'd send you a quick video of the car. Come with me. So go around it, then get in the car, drive it, And if anybody's saying, I don't have time for that, well, then find somebody else that does have the time for it. But it's that specific. So we've got our walk around, our test drive, the trade process. You could do a video around that. And then the introduction to finance. How crucial would that be if a finance manager would pull up his phone? And again, everybody's so busy, but we're talking about 20 seconds here, where a business manager would be like, hey, Matthew, I just want to introduce myself. Sometimes customers have questions about finance before they make a decision. So I just want to let you know that I'm direct. You have direct access to me. So if you have questions about leasing, financing, or whatever, let me know and I'm here for you. that is a full-blown virtual process that can be done. If I guess if it starts from the top, if that's what they want, that's what I would encourage dealerships to do from a video standpoint.
Seems like we're trying to take this, like what used to be always in person, and then everything went back to not in person, and you're trying to establish a personal connection through a digital, a cold process. I think that's maybe one way that's how I'm framing it up in my mind. What type?
No, that's right. Go ahead.
I was going to ask, so yeah, use your phone to record it. And what kind of technology or platform are people using to send this out? Like, you're not texting them like a 40 megabyte movie, are you, right?
No, see, there's all kinds of platforms. First, see if your CRM is capable, because that limits a bunch of extra tools. So see if your CRM has the capability of doing videos and make sure it looks like good quality on the customer side. And then if that doesn't work, you can use BombBomb. There's BombBomb, there's CoVideo. I use CoVideo. But I'm sure there's so many other platforms now. I mean, there's a lot of video platforms that you can just use that will host that video, and it's easier to send via text and email. The reason why I love the other platforms more than most of the CRMs from what I've seen is the trackability. Now if the CRM can track it and it lets you know when they opened it and they watched it, then that's phenomenal. But if it doesn't allow you to see the metrics about what the customer really paid attention to, and did they watch it all the way through, and then what actions did they take after watching the video, that is crucial, because then that's a coaching moment to be able to say, okay, this video, something's wrong here compared to the data from the other salespeople. On average are getting this, but if this salesperson is getting this, then we know that they might need some video training. And what I was going to say, the previous one, to button that up, is I don't want people to think that all I'm saying is we want to do a bunch of videos to try to sell cars over the phone. That's really not the goal, because I think all of us would agree that most people just want to do part of the process online, but a lot of people really want to have that option to buy at the dealership or have it delivered. But the other thing that you can do to save a lot of time is, at the beginning, ask customers if they would be open to a video call. So because we're doing Zooms, like here I am, I'm in Pittsburgh. I don't know, you met you over there. Most people are used to what we're doing right now. And so it's not out of the norm to ask the customer, hey, would you want to do a video call? We can do a Zoom or FaceTime, and I can go over some of the features with you. I definitely feel that that's one place the industry is headed with this next generation that comes in. It's going to be a lot more FaceTime and getting to know people that way.
Very good. Shifting gears. So if you are struggling to know where you should spend your ad dollars, or you need a fresh perspective on how to allocate it, what's your take? How are you coaching people on that today?
Yeah. So where I start with is their goals. What is it that we're really trying to accomplish? So I'll give you an example. If a store has 200 cars on the ground, right? But out of the 200 cars, 60 of them are new cars. Out of those 60 new cars, there's only 5 that are actually on the ground that can be retailed, because the rest are all reserved. So then what I challenge people to do is look at your advertising mix. If we know that on the new car side, there's not as much that we can do to make an impact there, because a lot of these cars are selling before they even get to the lot, look at your ad budget compared to your inventory. Is it in line? So a lot of dealerships are still spending 50, 60 to 70% of their budget on new cars, because that's what we've always just been doing. It's kind of just been rolling. But what I'm advising dealers is to look at your marketing mix and push that more towards not only just used cars, but also the experience. So start marketing the brand of your dealership. So think CarMax or something like that. Make sure that you're branding that. Like, I would be running videos on either TV or YouTube that are talking about how easy it is to buy a car right now, even in some of the most uncertain times, and label out what that looks like. And then taking it a step further, obviously always make sure your people and process is tight before you cut any budget. So I never talk to a dealer and be like, let's cut all this stuff. I always look at their people first, their process. Then once you figured out that that's tight, now you start having those conversations, looking at the ad dollars, look at the mix towards inventory, and then start using your own data first. So market using your CRM data, your social media data, and your website data. Using those 3, now you have all this data in-house that you can market to these people. You can get with agencies that they can tell you everything about those people. If they have an email address or phone number, it's kind of scary. But that's what I would say is, like, sometimes we focus so much on a lot of pay-per-click, and there's nothing wrong with pay-per-click and all that other stuff. But I would say start, especially if you're a dealership that's been in business for 10 years or longer, start with the data that you already have and maximize that. It saves you a ton of money when you're marketing through your own CRM, doing your own email campaigns, and then start moving out a little bit. And that's a way that you can save some money during these times. And then you can always spend as much as you want on the outside stuff, but start internally with what you have first and go with your customers and your friends, then start moving to the outside.
What are some examples of things when you see them either from a people side or a process side, you're like, ooh, let's talk about that.
I'll be transparent. If it's on the internet lead side, it sounds simple, but I would look at your response time first. Make sure because there's still stores out there that don't respond within an hour. The second thing is look at your engagement rate per lead source. So most CRMs have how many leads you receive by source, then look to see the engagement piece. So if you notice, if your store is really dialed in and every provider that you have, your engagement is 70% or higher, but then you have one or two players where your engagement's like 35 or 40%, that means we need to stop and take a second and look. But if all the providers are like a 50 or 40% engagement rate, then I'm like, okay, that seems a little off. Let's dial in and see what the process is. And then another metric that you can look at is your lead to set percentage rate. So look at that across the board. If it's low all the way down, I would say you have a people and process problem. Or it could be the source, but use the source last. But if you're seeing that it's kind of spotty and it's all over the place, like it's really high with some, really low with others, I would still check on that really low one to see if it's a process breakdown, because maybe we're not communicating the marketing message. Take it like an example of a trade pending that's coming in. If a trade pending comes in and all we do is focus on, you can reserve a car right now, that's not keeping up with the same message of what the customer initially got them engaged in the first place. But after you look at that, definitely response time, engagement percentage, and then look at your lead to set percentage.
Wonderful. All right. We're approaching here at almost a half hour. It's going quick. It's going quick for me. It's going quick for me. What is the biggest takeaway that you're finding yourself coaching on right now?
And I've said this probably, I know people probably sick of hearing this C word, but it's really connecting with people. But not only, so we've done a lot of this call talking about how to connect with customers, how to engage with customers, but I'm going to challenge everybody on this call to make sure you're taking time to connect with your people in your organization, because that's where the magic really happens, is the energy that us as leaders, whoever's on this call, doesn't matter if you're a leader or just a salesperson, but make sure that you're connecting with each other, sharing ideas, praising the things that you're looking for, because that's what I see more common than anything, is that sometimes, like when I go to stores, I'll be real transparent, I spend 25% of my time as a therapist, like just listening to people, because there's so much going on. And it's because sometimes the leaders, we're not taking time to really connect with our own people. And when people feel valued and they're connecting with their boss, man, it dials into your customers. The customers feel that, because if you have an employee that's not happy, odds are it's not going to go that well for them and the customer. Some people know how to turn that off and on. But if you as a leader are focusing on connecting with your people, with customers too, holding people accountable, like you notice throughout this call, we talked a lot about measuring. I'm really big on measuring the data. So anything that you put into place, if you put in anything after this call, make sure that it's something that you can monitor and somebody's in place to make sure that, are we actually doing this? And let's praise the people that are doing it. And if somebody doesn't do it, as a team, they need to find out, okay, what should be that consequence, or what should be the coaching moment there. But that's what I would sum it up is, do your best today. Coach your team. When you're doing sales training, anything, it sounds simple, but go back to the basics on how to connect with people. How do we connect with each other using emotional intelligence? Anything that breaks down how to read people and just really make people, after they get off the phone, that's what I tell people, when customers get off the phone with you, one of three things is going to happen. They're either upset, or they feel the exact same as they did before, or they feel freaking good. And I'm going to challenge you that every call, every interaction, every walk-in, every interaction that you have, people leave better than they were before they actually met you or got in place with you. Same thing I'm trying to do here. I hope that after people have watched this, that they don't leave like, man, I wish I could get my 30 minutes back. I pray and hope that they can leave and say, dude, I feel better now and I'm jacked up and I'm gonna go lead a bunch of people and sell a bunch of cars or something.
Absolutely. I'm going to throw a surprise question at you here.
Okay.
So let's say I'm Matthew, I'm the crystal ball. We're at the front end of a recession here. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but I'm saying, all right, we're going to have a recession that starts here. How should we start thinking about that from a people perspective, a marketing and budget perspective?
Yeah. So if we are heading into something like that, make sure you stay really dialed in on your sold customers that you have and your service customers, because our customers and our employees are going to be the ones that are going to get us through it. You notice any downturn that we have, it's your loyal people, employees and customers both, that get us through it. Same thing for my business. When COVID happened, the people that I had tight partnerships, we went into it locking arms and I came out stronger. But that's what I would say. Just make sure that you're leaning into your customers, using social media as well, but be transparent and connect with them about, I would say, turn your dealership into a community. And when you do that, it makes you almost recession proof, so that when something does happen, you have this community of people that they're in it with you and they know that you're fighting for them and they're going to fight for you.
Yeah, it's never too late to start.
No, never.
Wonderful. All right. So we will open it up for questions. We'll give it a few seconds here to see if there are any coming in, but so type them away in the Q&A section. And Duran, I will agree. Like I'm leaving this now after 30 minutes. I feel better. I'm like, oh, I need to go say thanks to the people I work with. Like, hey.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right. So we'll go ahead and let's see. Maybe I'll throw back on this slide deck here real quick, because everybody loves slides this day and age. Let's go. So there we are. All right, we'll start to wrap things up here. If you haven't yet, follow us on social media to get all this great stuff coming at you, as well as Duran. He's always got a ton of great information out there. We throw this at the end of every webinar. If you want your own trade pending mascot, it is that drinking bird. We will mail you one. Do you have one, Duran?
No, I need that. That's so cool.
Well, you're going to get one now. Hit that bit.ly link and we will send you one. And there you go. There's our contact information there. And with that, we're going to wrap it up. Thank you, everybody, for joining. And thank you, Duran.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for your time.